guys, Jay here. Welcome to Eons of Battle. Why do we choose the armies we choose? Well, it's because we like how they look, and that's true, but I have a hunch that it's also true that the decision comes down to one or two key models. The models that jump out to us and are the deciding factor on starting a collection. They're usually the models we start out with or are excited to build up to. I know this is how I've made my decision of what armies to collect over the years, and I wanna talk about the models that made me start armies. Starting off with my first army, the Necrons. I love the space Egyptians, and having hordes and hordes of Necron warriors and immortals was always my goal. But there is one unit that reigns supreme over the collection, and that is the Canoptek Wraiths. I love these models. It took me a little while before I actually purchased them. I remember I had a full Necron army, and then one Christmas I got these for myself, and I absolutely love them. I made them bursting out of the ground. They stand on kind of prehensile tails. They're kind of like an upside down scorpion, which is an okay look. I don't mind how they naturally look, but I kind of like the bursting out of the ground more because now every single one has a really unique pose. I just think they're so awesome. I like the Necron Canoptek constructs a lot. It kind of makes sense. I mean, there's billions of Necron warriors, but in between the Necron warriors is just a sea of their living technology, the Necrodermis constructs, and I really, really get a kick out of them. And these guys are my favorites. There's one way you can build them, which looks a little bit goofy with the whips. The whips have always been really, really good in game. I don't know if they're still good, but I know I've seen hundreds and hundreds of Canoptek Wraiths with the whips snapped also. But I just went for the classic claws, and maybe they're invisible whips if I actually want to use the whips. I remember back in 6th edition, these guys had a 3-up invulnerable save, which made them unbelievably survivable and difficult to take out. And maybe part of that is why I love them so much. I remember charging into a humongous blob of orc boys and just ravaging them, and then on the strike back, the orcs did like nothing. Canoptek Wraiths, the crown jewel of my Necron army. My second army, the Space Marines, the Black Templar, the worst possible good guys. I like the Space Marines a lot. Basically every kit is a banger, but there are two models that I love above the others. One, the Space Marine Dreadnoughts, the model everybody loves, and the second, probably the most hated Space Marine unit, the model that was the precursor to all the Primaris hate, the Space Marine Centurions. Everybody loves the Dreadnoughts, and I have 5 of these suckers. I think I actually have a couple more that need to be built and painted, but I just love, there's something so macabre about the Dreadnought. It's very grimdark. In my perspective of the Dreadnoughts, I think that the Space Marines, like, it's horrible and awful and evil to take a nearly dead Space Marine and then entomb them in one of these sarcophaguses. And I like to think that the reason that it's such an honor for Space Marines, it's been built up in their minds, their psycho-indoctrinated minds so much, is because it's actually misery, but it's such an effective weapons platform that they kind of force Space Marines into loving the idea of being entombed in a Dreadnought, when in reality, it's a pretty miserable experience all around. I mean, and it makes sense that it would be really hard for a human being to pilot a Dreadnought. I mean, you have to pilot 2 legs and 2 arms, and it's impossible to do that with joysticks and pedals, but if it's literally your spine is drilled into the machine, then it becomes an extension of your body. I love the Dreadnoughts. But speaking of big, giant, stompy guys, I think I might love the Centurions more. I love Centurions so much. I know when they came out in 2012, they were much maligned. People really did not like them. I don't know if that still holds true or if people have gotten over it, but I have always loved these guys. I have done a tiny bit of conversion to make their legs a little longer. I think that's the only flaw, really, but I just love the Centurions so much. I mean, imagine you've got Space Marines and they're pinned down by enemy fire, and so a drop pod slams into the ground, a Space Marine runs up to it, and then he hops out in a suit of Centurion armor. And then all of his battle brothers gather behind him, and then he walks across the battlefield like a walking Aegis defense line, just blasting with guns from every single direction. I like to think that at the end of a battle, the Centurion warsuits, completely shot up and destroyed, are scraped off the battlefield like drop pods at the end of a battle. I really like the Centurion warsuits. I remember the moment I graduated college, I bought myself 2 boxes. That was my graduation present, was 2 boxes of Centurions. 1 box is built and painted, and I have 1 more box to go. Next up, the Orcs, also known as the Army of the Kit Bashers. The Orcs are the army where kit bashing is basically mandatory, and they have by far the largest range of any 40k army, as every single Games Workshop kit ever made is secretly an Orc kit. It just hasn't been looted yet. And by far my favorites have to be the Orc Warbikers. These models are the reason I have an Orc army. Although I've sort of always had an Orc army, I've always had Orc models around and the inclination to start an Orc army, but really it's not until I went balls deep in the Orc Warbiker kit that I fell in love with the Orcs. I have about 30 of these Orc Warbikers. I actually painted an Eldar army for my cousin on commission, and in exchange, he gave me about 10 boxes of Orc Warbikers. He had a friendly local game store at the time, so he was able to get the stock in the numbers I wanted. But I love these. Every single one I have kit bashed and converted to make them completely unique. I have them on custom tournament illegal bases. I believe these are supposed to be on the long cavalry, like tic-tac shaped bases, but I have them on actually attractive, good-looking bases. But I love these models. I mean, seeing the whole horde of 30 of them pushing up the battlefield, they take up so much room. They're so big. They have their redonkulous Daka guns. And they're pretty good in close combat too, because you've got an Orc on there, and Orcs are no slouches in combat. I also adore the movie Mad Max Fury Road. I think it's one of the most beautiful and amazing movies ever made, and that is my theme for this Orc army. Just Orcs driving these ramshackle vehicles across the golden yellow deserts of whatever planet that they have decided to take. I love the Orc Warbikers so much. I might need more. I should just go ahead. Forge World sells a Orc Warboss on bike. I believe it was customly Wazdaka Grut Smack, something like that. But they renamed it when you could no longer take that character in 40k. And the Orc Knobs on bikes. I should just go ahead and buy them, but they're so expensive. Maybe I'll just do a little kit bashing and converting to have those units. And finally, my last army, the Mysterious Genestealer Cult. One of the armies I consider to be the most difficult to paint and full of some of the most interesting sculpts in all of 40k. I was drawn to this faction because of the intricate models, but my favorites are the Aberrants and the Sentinels. I have always loved the Sentinels, but I've never had that much interest in the Imperial Guard, and so I never had a good excuse to buy any. But then when the Genestealer Cult dropped, boom, I had a perfect excuse to buy a lot of Sentinels. I actually want a lot more. I love that they're shameless ATST ripoffs, and I don't mind because I love the ATSTs from Star Wars. And they just look really good. Their proportions are great. They really do look like they could scuttle around on those legs. And I'm sure it is a miserable experience to pilot one of these because you're just bouncing up and down with the crazy chicken gait that these things can walk at. And they've just got that great weapon hardpoint so you can attach basically whatever you want, missile launchers, multi-las, las cannons, anything you want. I really like the Sentinels, and I kind of want to get 3 more and make the open-topped Scout version so that I'll have 3 armored Sentinels and 3 Scout Sentinels with the chainsaw. You gotta have the chainsaw. But speaking of the Genestealer Cult, the Genestealer Cult was a brand new army that happened right in the middle of my wargaming career with Deathwatch Overkill, and I bought 2 copies of Deathwatch Overkill, and then I think I bought 2 more just the Aberrant models on eBay because I love the Aberrant so much. They're grotesque, they're mutants, they're just sickening monsters, and I absolutely love the sculpts. I love them so much that even though I already own like 10, I bought 2 more boxes when the plastic kit came out because there were different poses and different sculpts. So now I have far more Aberrants than any sane person should, but it doesn't matter because I love them so much. The only flaw with these guys is I think that they're maybe 50% too small. I mean, these are supposed to be giant hulking brutes that can kind of go toe to toe with like Space Marines, but they're almost smaller than Orcs. I think it totally would have been fine if they were upscaled just a little bit, but I'm fine with that because they're still the hulking behemoths that I've always wanted. And one day I'll have 20 of them and I'll lose every game that I ever take them in because that's ridiculous, but I love the Aberrant. Let me know in the comments below, what are the models that made you collect your army or armies? Did you buy them right off the bat or did you build up to them? Do you spam them on the tabletop or just keep them as that one unique special unit? And speaking of things that should be spammed, our Patreon. Over there we have original miniatures in our Miniature of the Month Club. We also have high quality wargaming terrain STLs hosted by Comics, Games, and Things, viewer model critique videos, a weekly hobby hangout live stream, and more. It's the best way to support us, so head on over to Patreon to get access to even more Eons of Battle. We also have merch linked in the description. Thanks for watching.